It's The Franklin Show, live from Franklin with America's favorite adopted pup, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Lloyd Wright Sinatra Seltzer. There you go. Friend and a favorite dog adopter, Michael Seltzer. I'm your announcer, the longest continuous national Sirius XM morning show host, Flash Phelps, and now here's Franklin, PHRLNKLIN.
Oh, wow. Thank you, everybody, for braving this horrific Michigan weather. Thanks to my great band. Wow, you guys are hot tonight. And thank you to my friend Flash Phelps, 60s on 6 and all over America, the great Flash Phelps. Thanks for being my announcer today. Franklin is on a speaking tour right now, couldn't be with us, but I've got this little fella here who's a replica. And if you go to the franklin.com website, you'll find this available for your own. So go to www.franklin.com. We've got some great guests, and we'll be right back.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Okay, we are back, and I am so proud and privileged to have my next guest, a very acclaimed, famous, and wonderful philanthropic musician, Ethan Davidson. Welcome to the Franklin Show.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's get the housekeeping stuff out of the way, the family background. Your dad was a very famous, well-known glassblower. And a point guard for the Pistons during the bad boy era. So I just wanted to get Billy D out of the way.
He was, it was amazing also to see him not only handle the basketball the way he did, but to be able to blow glass bottles at the same time.
I'm glad you appreciate that, because I know a lot of people didn't know that background. But, we do our homework here at the Franklin Show. I like to say that, I do a deep dive on my guests, and I find out little known facts and things that I think are interesting to the populace. So there you go. Glad to get Billy D out of the way. So, sure. Ethan, you have been a tremendous philanthropic and wonderful musician. I know you've got a new book out that you want to talk about. Music is your thing. Last I saw you was backstage at the Don Was All-Star Review, yep. Which I work the green room every year, and I've got a lot of great stories about that I'll share privately. No, I won't. I'll share them publicly, but another time. But let's talk about the book, which is a serious endeavor, and take it away.
Yeah, well, I have this sort of side hustle as a rabbi, philosopher type, I guess, and I've done a couple of I've done that kind of writing in different publications and that, and I was writing a book last year, I guess 2 years ago now, that was really sort of my song lyrics and train hopping adventures and hitchhiking and all that. And then the October 7th attacks happened in Israel, and I decided I wasn't going to write about myself. Nobody wanted to hear about that. And I sat down to write something that I'd been studying for a long time, which was episodes of sexual violence in the Jewish texts and the responses to the violence. The reason that I started to write that after October 7th was, we all know about, the attacks and the subsequent war, of course. But, there was a lot of sexual violence in the Hamas attacks against Jews, against Bedouin Arabs, and the thing that really shocked me was some of my friends and other people that I'd see in the media that wanted to either deny the sexual violence that occurred on October 7th or else to contextualize it in some way as to say that the sexual violence might be acceptable in some kind of ways. And I I kind of always felt like all of us in the world should be able to agree that sexual violence is like always bad, period. Like there's no contextualizing that. So I wrote this book about episodes of sexual violence in the classical Jewish texts and the responses to that violence. Those responses we see are sometimes measured and appropriate. We do have a right to defend ourselves, and we have a right to prosecute criminals. And yet sometimes the response to violence can kind of, spiral out of control and create its own unjustifiable violence. So I wanted to kind of explore those tensions within the classical Jewish text. So yeah, it's a heavy book. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah, no, look, I mean, this is, and we don't do serious very often here on the Franklin Show, but
that's okay. I don't do serious much either, but
again, and under these circumstances, I'm being Jewish myself, very affected by what happened on October 7th.
For sure.
And I did have the opportunity while in Los Angeles, where my son lives, to attend the Nova exhibit, where it was on a very prominent display, a very emotional and moving exhibit, which I understand has come to Detroit.
Yeah.
So you've seen it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, some of the video as you're walking through this recreated desert, the actual location where all the violence occurred, and phone calls, you're actually getting to hear the phone calls made by victims calling their parents to let them know what the situation was. You cannot be unmoved by that. When I saw that video, when I saw that exhibit, I said, I hope that this goes worldwide. Everyone needs to see it.
Absolutely.
And indeed, it is moving all across the country. I think it's in Chicago now.
Sounds sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, all right. So that's a sobering subject and hard to transition to fun and games. But thank you for doing that. And what has the response been?
Well, it's a look. It's a provocative title. I think it needs to be a provocative title, given what I described and the reactions to October 7th. The response has been positive. People have come to the book talks. They realize it's a serious subject. We haven't had disruptors, which you're always afraid of these days when you do anything that's like sort of Jewish related. I'm traveling to some other cities soon with the book, so we'll see how that goes. But so far the response has been positive, and I'll tell you this for your listeners out there and your viewers. Like my music, the books that I write, I give them all away for free. It's so if you're in the Detroit area, you can get a copy of my book for free at BookBeat in Oak Park, provided you buy someone else's book. So, and it's the same thing anywhere else. If you want a book, you can find me on social media and send me your address if you feel confident to do so. But and I'll trust you that you bought somebody else's book at an independent bookstore.
So just to follow up, people can go in and buy any one of my books.
That's right.
And we're gonna put my books on the screen. My director is gonna put this up on the screen. I have 3 books out. The first one, The President, the Prime Minister, A Notary, and Less, is a New York Times best-selling book. I gave away all the money to charity, but nice. I will charge. I'll take it over to BookBeat, and people can pay $150 for that book.
That's it.
Come free.
Exactly. As a bonus, you get mine.
Yeah. I have 2 other books: The Art of Always Being Right
Right.
and shit stirring. I can't even remember the title. I just write them so fast, It
I
just
thought, it's funny. I have books with the same exact titles.
yeah, yeah. They just come pouring forth from
They
me.
totally.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and it's all gratefully appreciated. So that's your book writing side, and then there's your crazy musical side.
Yeah.
Let's speak to that.
Well, I years ago I traveled the world for a long time as yeah, I don't know. People say I'm a folk musician. I don't know. It kind of started out as anti-folk back in the 90s, which is like punk rock folk, irreverent kind of stuff. It became maybe Americana music. I'm not sure, but anyway, I've got 15 or 16 albums, something like that. And I quit the touring life 20 years ago, but I still make these records. I made 2 records last year in Mississippi, which will come out this year. I made them with a guy by the name of Luther Dickinson, who was in the band the North Mississippi All Stars. If your listeners and viewers have heard of that band, his late father, was Jim Dickinson, who of course played with the Rolling Stones and played with Bob Dylan, and built this studio down in the backwoods of Mississippi before he passed away, which his son now operates. And that's where we went and recorded these couple of albums. So look for them later this year. The first one will be called Cordelia, and the second one will be called Lear. And they should be coming out in May and then in August.
And do you have Angie Dickinson on the cover of the album, slathered in whipped cream by any chance?
Absolutely, exactly.
Okay. Because that worked for Herb Alpert back in the day. Herb Alpert did that Whipped Cream and Other Delights album that we as children all admired so much.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure your parents had a copy. My parents had a copy. And of
we had
course,
several copies.
Yeah, yeah. And Herb Alpert, that was his label, A&M.
Yeah.
Albert and Morales or something. I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's impressive. So those will be out later this year.
Those will be out later.
But you're not touring, so no one can go see you perform. I mean,
Well,
would it be fun for you to resurrect your father's career and do a little glass blowing, a little basketball playing, and musicianship together on a stage?
Oh yeah, I think we'll do that. Actually, we'll do. I'm not quite as talented a glass blower, and I've got a decent outside shot, but I'm not like I'm not the ball handler he was. But it's I'm gonna play some shows. I'll do some here, New York, Chicago. There's my record label's in Cleveland, so we got to go to Cleveland. But I'll do a few shows around. And I'll post those up on social media as well. Ethan Daniel Davidson.
And can people purchase your music, or are you giving that away also?
I've always given that away. I was always terrible at making money. I never figured out how to do that. So the music was free. When I was touring,
see, I charge exorbitantly for everything that I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Between you and I.
Yeah, and so if you sell one copy, it pays for everything. I used to give them away. That was in the days of, that was in the days of Napster, if people remember that, when music was free. So I decided, well, I'm just going to give it all away for free. I was printing CDs. This is 20, 25, 30 years ago. And I gave away more than 50,000 albums at that time. And so I just kind of kept going with that and the music. So I think it is for sale. The records are for sale on like iTunes, but I never receive any money. I mean, nobody ever sends me I think they owe me a lot of money, but
what are you going to do with that though?
What are you going to do with that? But it's, other places it's, it's all on Spotify and or if you happen to run into me at a show, I'll give you the CDs or the vinyl when they're out, so.
What record label are you on, by the way?
I'm on a little label called Blue Arrow. It's a very selective roster that they have. It's me, and then it's Jonathan Richman, who used to be in the band The Modern Lovers back in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And
well, you see, they're trading off the famous Blue Note records, which
that's right.
You have a friend, and I have a friend, and I have a son who runs that label.
That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. That's right. And then there's a couple of the guys that used to be in the British punk band the Mekons. So it's basically like it's the label of the three middle-aged ex-punk rockers.
That's very lovely. All right, well, we're going to share a little of your music here on the Franklin Show. And thank you, Ethan, for joining us today. Franklin and I are very, very appreciative of your taking the time. You're a truly generous and wonderful human. And I am privileged to say that I know you and to share you with the rest of the world and our vast viewing and listening audience all over America. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a real privilege.
Great. Best of luck on giving things away to people. And, cherish your dad's memories, man. I mean, he's done some remarkable things in this town of Detroit. That Bill Davidson guy, Guardian and Pistons,
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
that. Thanks. All right, everybody. We'll be right back with more fun and games here on The Franklin Show. We're back. And I got to tell you something right off the bat here. You've heard about my battle with Mitch Albom. He wrote that silly book, Tuesdays with Maury. And I had written a book called Wednesdays with Lori about my wife. So we've got that feud. But in addition to that, Jerry Seinfeld and I are old friends. We're comedians. And so, we've known each other for years. And I came to him with this idea. I said, I got this idea for an interview that you would do in a car while you're having coffee, comedians in cars with coffee. And so lo and behold, surprise of all surprises, one day I'm watching the television machine and here comes Seinfeld with this TV show. And I says to myself, I can make this into a big issue, but ruin a friendship. And I decided I wasn't going to do that. So what you're going to see now is sort of an experiment that we had planned much earlier. And it is, and it's not comedians in cars, it's authors in cars having coffee. Please welcome my guest, Breeda Kelly Miller, author and playwright and actress, and she's got coffee. And this is her book, a fabulous book, Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home. Breeda, welcome to the Franklin Show.
I'm delighted to be here. And I have to tell you, I'm so impressed with Franklin himself. So well behaved. What a good boy.
He's the best boy. And he's really the star of the show. I'm nothing but a prop. But it's great to have you, and just be careful. Don't accelerate or brake or anything. Just stay stationary so we can do this.
Will do.
So I happen to have the great pleasure of seeing you perform recently, and I am absolutely enthralled by your comedic timing, your accents of Irish people. I love the Irish, and I love the story. And I read the book, Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home, in one sitting. It was that enthralling. So talk about the book, the play, and you. You're on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thanks for your kind words. I appreciate it. It's been a labor of love and a complete surprise. It's the first time I've ever written a play, and then, as one does, I decided to, it's a one-woman show, and to go on a tour and perform it wherever they would have me. And then I kind of did it backwards, though. I wrote the play first, and then I was consumed with guilt for all of the edits and the cuts. And, my dad basically became a comic relief in the play because it was all about my mom, Mrs. Kelly. And so the book allowed me to fill in the blanks and give more details and context, and talk, share more ideas. So the concept here is, my parents emigrated from Dublin to Detroit in the late 1950s. My three brothers, my mom and dad, and then I was, as my mom like to say, her gift from Uncle Sam, which was so awkward. Anyway, we went on then to have another brother. So four boys and me, and becoming Americans. And there were just so many funny stories, and I didn't want to lose all of those precious stories. So I began writing them, and then the evolution of the book. The concept is immigration, moving to America, becoming Americans, the great wit of the Irish people and my parents and what they experienced, and then the profound experience of being my mother's caregiver as she aged. And I learned that while this is a very personal story to me, it's a universal story. Rosalind Carter said it so well. There are four kinds of people in the world. There are people who were caregivers. There are people who were caregivers who will need who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. And so the whole idea here in Mrs. Kelly's Journey Home is that we can find the joy even during hard times. And that's the essence of it. And I hope this book helps people to gain a different perspective, perhaps, or feel some relief or support, or at the very least to feel seen, to know that they're not the only ones who are experiencing this, and then to find joy in the process.
It's a beautiful story. And I mean, who among us can't relate to the experience of having to tend to our parents, and the joy and heartache that goes along with that. So that's something that anyone can certainly understand and be captivated by. But where did it come from that you became this actress? I mean, I know you from years and years ago in the radio business as a radio executive. We recently reconnected through one of our friends who said, Breeda Kelly has written this incredible book. You really should have her on your show. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I need to reconnect with Breeda. And so that in and of itself is another story. You and your mother and Jeff Daniels. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, my mom, as most moms are, but my mom was my eternal champion. In fact, I don't think I ever heard her discourage me from trying anything. Her line was always, "You can do it," and she often didn't have a clue what she was talking about, but, I loved it. And so when she was near the end of her life, she was still supporting me constantly. And we live in Manchester, Michigan, which is a small town just south of Chelsea, Michigan, which is near Jeff Daniels, his theater, the Purple Rose Theater. And it's wonderful. And we go there, and it's great. And my mom said to me one day, she's laying in her bed and she puts her head up and she just said, because the light bulb went off in her head. And she said, Breeda, you should call that Jeff Daniels and tell him you're available.
I love that.
You gotta love a mom who's on your team.
Of course.
And so I think her confidence in me just allowed me to have this bold, big idea. And then, a lot of people have ideas. And a lot of people think, yeah, I would love to do that. I should do that. But the fact that I've actually done it blows my mind, Mike. Because
you followed your dream, which is what we all have to do. Look, if I would have thought years ago that instead of spending my time toiling away in the marketing business and making billions of dollars, that I could have just done this fun little TV show with my adopted puppy, I would have done it. But I didn't even think about it back then.
Well, I didn't think about this till I was 63. Okay. So, sometimes things take time, but I realized as much as I would have loved to have done something like this earlier in my career, in my life, I couldn't have, because I needed to earn the right. I needed to have the life experiences. I needed to have the perspective. And also, when you're in your mid 60s, what the hell? Just give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least
And
I
could
know
you
I
ever
tried.
imagine that you would be sitting in a parking lot being interviewed on a major national television program
Absolutely.
with snow in the background and people honking at you? You're taking up a handicap parking spot. I mean, come on, this is America. No? Okay.
You're absolutely right. I mean, this I'm living the dream right this second.
Okay. And so out of respect for that, because it's like 2 degrees outside, and I know that because I'm inside laughing at you for being outside. Breeda was on her way to the studio and whatever. She didn't make it to the studio, so we decided we had to do this, because we're running out of time here. But now talk about performing. How many places have you performed this one-woman play, and what is that like?
Oh, it's mind-blowing. I've performed the show over 40 times in 23 cities, in 17 states, and in Ireland, which was one of the big things to, well, if my goal is not to take the show to Broadway, but I would not be rude if they invited me, just saying. But to perform the show in Ireland, where I have, all of my cousins and other relatives in front of them, was the most daunting thing that I ever imagined. And that I was able to do it was one of the proudest moments, I have to say.
And they welcomed you warmly, as the Irish do, right?
They did. Although I have to tell you, one of the reasons I was so terrified to do it is I learned the cardinal rule early in life. If you are an American and you are considering creating or doing an Irish accent in Ireland, please don't ever do that. Don't even think about doing it. It does not end well. So I already knew that, and this had been instilled in me from a young age, because I have seen the carnage that has happened when I have witnessed really bad American accents in Ireland. And so for me to knowingly do an Irish accent in Ireland in front of Irish people, many of whom I was related to, it really scared the bejesus out of me. And but I have to say, they were hesitant, like, oh, is this going to be embarrassing? Is this going to be bad? And afterwards, standing ovation and people coming up and just saying, you got it just right. And it doesn't get any better than that.
No, that truly is high praise from the Irish. They are lovely, warm, wonderful people. I tell you, I go back to Ireland quite often for reasons that don't necessarily need to be discussed here, and my adoration of Van Morrison. But I have found Ireland to be one of my favorite places to go back to, and that they are always appreciative and always want to know more about you and why you've come over to Ireland. So that's great praise. And I'm sure that was probably the most nervous you could possibly be when you performed.
Oh, it really was. And I made some really smart marketing decisions before I did this because, who in Ireland is going to want to buy a ticket to see an American doing a story, an unknown play that they didn't know anything about. So what I did was I decided that I would support the Irish Alzheimer's Society and give 100% of the proceeds, the ticket sales, to the Irish Alzheimer's Society. And the wonderful thing is they helped promote the show. They got a number of the props so that I didn't have to schlep everything with me. And I was a guest on the local radio station there, and it was really wonderful.
That's a wonderful thing. Well, I can tell you this, having seen you perform, you are very engaging, very entertaining, and the play is really a wonderful presentation of you and your mother and your father speaking, and you do all the dialogue, you do all of the impressions, and you do them well. And it's a daunting task. You're out there completely alone, right? I mean, you have nothing.
I got
And
nothing.
it's all
When my director said to me, Breeda, doing a one-woman show is kind of like a high wire act without a net. Thank you. I'm not nervous enough. Thanks for letting me know that, But yeah, there's no teleprompters. There's no other actors. There's not even a stage manager backstage to whisper, weren't you going to talk about the dog now? So,
All right, well,
yeah.
I would encourage people to look you up. Do you have a website? Yes?
I do. BreedaMiller.com.
BreedaMiller.com. We'll put that up on the screen. The book is a tremendous read. You can get it online. Yes?
Absolutely. And if you buy it on my website, it's free shipping, and I'll sign the book and send it right out to you.
And I have my signed copy right here. It's very, well.
And it's also available on Amazon for convenience sakes. Yes, almost another book I wrote to you, when I signed it.
You did. That's very sweet. Oh, and it comes with this handy little, I love this handy little door knocker thing that you can put on your door. This was your idea. Love that.
Well, it's, hotels have do not disturb signs. Why can't we have them at home, right? Or the office?
Right.
I love it when I share this with people and they say, can I have an extra one for my office door? So.
And it's so polite because when I lay at my pool, I put a toe tag on me that says do not disturb, because I'm the president of an HOA of 400 very picky owners. And I put a toe tag on me that says do not disturb when I'm at the pool. And somebody came along while I was napping, which I do frequently, and changed the do not disturb to deceased. So we got that going. Breeda Kelly Miller, you are a delight. I am so pleased that we reconnected. I love the book. I love the play. I encourage people to go to your website and find you and find the book and your upcoming performances. And I think you'll find this to be a very worthwhile experience. Thank you so much for sharing with us here on The Franklin Show.
Oh, I'm honored to be a guest. Thank you so much, Mike. And especially Franklin, he's brilliant. Booking interesting guests and just being there.
There's nothing better. Nothing better. I couldn't be more honored to have Franklin, even in this state. Well, the state of Michigan, which is just so cold, I couldn't bring him here for this. So.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Breeda. Stand-in is good. Thanks so much, Mike. Take care.
Thanks so much. And everybody will be right back. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
What a great show tonight, folks. Thank you all for braving this horrific weather and being here. I'm sorry we ran out of time. Rob Schneider, great actor and comedian, and what a fabulous actor, Edward James Olmos. We will get you both rebooked on a Franklin show in the near future. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.